Welcome to the Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories. At the National Guard Militia Museum of New Jersey in Seagirt, a partner of the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Today is October 18th, 2013. I am Carol Fowler, Director of the Center for U.S. War Veterans Oral Histories. Assisting me is Monmouth University intern Vincent Gonzalez. Our honored veteran is Michael G. George, who served with the United States Army in the Vietnam War. He served from August of 1968 until September of 1969 and was with H Troop, 17th Cavalry, 198th Infantry Brigade, Marical Division. Thank you for wanting to be here today, Michael.
You're welcome.
Your eyewitness account is considered a primary historical source and a valuable contribution to our Veteran Oral History Project here at the Militia Museum. And good morning and welcome, Michael.
Thank you.
Tell us how you heard about this project.
I heard through Dennis Beauregard, who's commander of the Vietnam Veterans, Chapter 12.
For the state
Yes,
commander.
right.
Very good.
And he put his newsletter, and that's how I found out about it.
Yes, we've gotten many veterans from that. I'm very grateful to him for that. Take us back to like prior to service. Had anyone in your family served before you?
My father was in World War II.
Okay.
He served for 4 years in World War II. He's now deceased.
Did he talk about it much, where he was? or-
No, he really didn't talk about it much. Every once in a while, Christmas, Thanksgiving, I guess of wine, he started talking about it,
Yeah?
Yeah. But he just said it was all different countries he was in Europe.
Europe? What branch of service?
He was in the Army.
What was life like for you in the mid-60s? Down here at the shore?
I'm from Long Branch all my life. I was born in Long Branch. I went to 1 year's junior college, Miami-Dade Junior College,
Okay.
and
You were a lifeguard?
I was the lifeguard. And in fact, I was sitting on a lifeguard stand, and all of a sudden I saw my father walking down the beach with his clothes on. I said, "What's my father doing down here during the week with his clothes on, eh?" And all of a sudden, he handed me my draft notice, and I was sitting on a lifeguard stand.
That's a different kind of story we never heard.
Yeah, he goes, "I told you to study."
Oh dear.
You said you listen to me.
So how did your family feel about you being drafted?
They're nervous, because back in Vietnam was going full blast back then, and they're very nervous about it.
And it was the kind of war that you saw on TV in your living room.
That's right, and I thought I was going to go back to school, but then I had failed a couple subjects, and they wouldn't. Back then, if you failed a couple subjects, you got drafted.
Were a lot of your friends getting drafted?
Yes.
Right.
In fact, a couple of my friends joined the reserves and the National Guard, and they said, "Why don't you come down and join?" I said, "Nah, so I'll never get drafted."
Did they serve the year before in the Newark riots?
Yeah, they joined the reserves and the Guard, and I know a couple local guys were drafted too, so.
Right.
In fact, a couple guys I went to high school with lost their legs too.
Oh my goodness.
And some people handle it different than other people, And some people accept it, other people drank themselves to death, and
So where did the Army first send you?
I was drafted in 68, August 68 I was drafted. Then I went to basic training at Fort Dix.
Right.
Then they sent me to Fort Polk in Louisiana for advanced training.
What kind of adjustment was that? You're in the South?
Yeah, it was a different world,
Oh yeah.
I said, geez, I was in the middle of nowhere, because I never left New Jersey before that, I said, geez,
You were in the South, you were in the swampy area?
Yeah, and in fact, the first time I got a pass, went to this little town, and geez, wish there was trucks going by, and I felt like it was a different world,
And the civil rights movement down there?
In fact, I never heard anything about it.
I see.
But there's a couple of race riots when I was in the Army.
Where?
The first one I saw when I was in, after I got through with Fort Polk, I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, before I went to Vietnam.
Right.
And I remember big fights broke out, and...
That's unusual that it happened there and not in the South, right?
Yeah. But I guess then it was like, riots were going to cities back then, and,
Was that when there was assassination?
Yeah, I guess it was right after that, in 68, I guess it was.
And there was a race riot?
Yeah.
So
But
what
when-
kind of things were happening?
Just a lot of fist fights and screaming, yelling like that, and
Just the soldiers or the
Yeah.
non-commissioned
yeah,
soldiers?
just mostly just the young soldiers.
Right.
My age. I was 20. I was 20 then,
Right.
and
But it didn't affect you?
no, I was.
You were just an observer to it?
Yeah, I didn't. I just geez, I don't get involved in this. Everybody's
Right.
throwing things, and so
Right.
But most guys just walked away and didn't, And when I was done with Fort, like I said, when I was done with Fort Polk for 6 weeks, and I got my orders to go to Vietnam.
Do you have any stories from basic training?
What? Well, from Fort Polk,
You were doing light weapons? What was that like? Were you
yeah,
good?
just training. Fort Polk was different. It was different basic training because you're out, you're carrying a rifle all the time, and the training was more intense. And we stayed out. We stayed out in the well, not the swamps, but they stayed outside a lot. And like the sergeants were different. The basic training, they scream at and yell at you all the time. But back then in Fort Polk, they're mostly trying to teach you things. How to stay alive when we got over to Vietnam and things like that.
And those conditions were similar to Vietnam, right?
Yeah, because even then, Fort Polk, the barracks were old. They look like they're they're built like 1800s. It looked like.
Huh.
And the shower stalls were like there's 100 guys trying to take 5 showers, and
No.
5 bathroom seats, and everybody's in it. It's like I said, oh man, I can get out of here.
Right.
But you had to adjust, and that was it. Then I could tell you a funny story. Was about a week before advanced training was over at Fort Polk. Everybody was supposed to go home for like a few weeks before they went to Vietnam. Everybody just got their orders, and then they got everybody together and they marched over to the barber shop to get haircuts before we went home. And I'd say about 90% of the guys refused to get a haircut before they went home. And everybody said, geez, we got orders to Vietnam. Why do we have to get a haircut now for?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we're going home. Last time you see somebody, you're going to go home with a bald head, and so a lot of guys refused to do it.
So how did that go over?
Then the officers came out, then they called the MPs came out.
Wow.
Then they came with all these trucks that had like barbed wire over them and everything. And everybody's going, no, we're not getting haircuts,
Oh my God.
So finally, I always remember that. It was funny because everybody's going, we're going to get killed. We might get killed. Why do we have to get a haircut for it? And so,
What about you?
I said, no, I wouldn't get a haircut either. So it was just funny that sooner or later they said, all right. They said, just go. Forget it. They said,
Wow.
we're going to Vietnam anyway. So everybody's going, what are you going to do? Send us to Vietnam?
Right. You're not getting inspected.
It was different back then than it is now. Mostly draftees and. I mean, everybody was a good soldier, I think, but they didn't want to. Then when I went to Fort, I came home for like a few weeks. Then I flew out to Fort Lewis, Washington to take off to go to Vietnam, and that's where there's like must have been hundreds of thousands of guys there. It was mass confusion, and
That was the biggest surge of troops in '68 to go to Vietnam.
It was like.
Because of the Tet Offensive?
Yeah, and it was like mass confusion. Nobody knew where they're going, and fights were breaking out everywhere, and So then finally we took off. Then it was a long trip to Vietnam. We stopped in Hawaii to refuel.
You went by plane?
Yes, went by plane, and we stopped. The plane was packed, and we stopped in Hawaii to refuel. Everybody had to get off the plane while we refueled, and then. This is a story. It always makes you laugh too. We got back on a plane. The plane was half empty when we took off. I don't know where they all went, but the plane was half empty.
They went surfing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 'cause I who knows where they went. Then there was a long
Did
flight.
they have like a checklist where they?
Yeah, and
People were just missing.
Oh yeah, and never came back. I guess. I don't think they came back a couple months later, or they never came back.
They shouldn't have let them off the plane.
That's right. That's it. That's what I said. Yeah.
What a great story. All right, and then where'd you go from Hawaii?
Then we went to Guam to refuel. And everybody came back. You just know where to go on Guam, so everybody came back. And
Okay.
then we fueled again. Then we went straight to Vietnam from there.
Where?
I remember we landed on Cam Ranh Bay. We
Right.
landed. And I guess that's a big reception center where all new troops were coming in. And that's where everybody got their orders, where they're going to go, which company, which division.
Do you remember when that was?
I think it was early January, right after Christmas, in '69.
Okay. So you got to be home for Christmas.
Yeah. Yes, I did, yeah.
That worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, yeah. I was supposed to report the day after, but I waited a couple of extra days before I went.
So what were your first impressions when the plane door opened?
It was so hot. I remember the heat hit me in the face and smelled, you know, and because of burning things everywhere, you know, everything was burning, you know, there was no sewers there or anything like that. It was like, you know, it's like a different world, you know, no such thing as sewers or anything there, you know, and
You weren't expecting that.
no, you know, and it was
You were
something.
expecting toilets?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything. I knew what to expect, but you know, but just got off the plane and it was so hot and everybody's yelling, go this way, go that way, you know, and
Were you under fire?
no. And
Was it afternoon? Was it?
I can remember it's daylight. It was so hot and everybody's yelling, get off the plane, get off the plane, and they had their name, go that way, go that way, and you know, nobody knew what was going on. And finally, we ended up this big camp at Cameron Bay, and it's mostly tents. And everybody, you know, go in that tent, and you know, so they finally come around and get your name and everything, and so finally, the next day, everybody just stand around, they come in orders, all right, you're going here, you're going there, you know, and then I remember they took me to the air base, they put me on a plane, that was, you just walked on the plane, there was no seats or anything, and I think it was about an hour flight, we landed in Chulai, and that's where I got somebody was waiting for me when I got there.
Can you describe Chulai?
Chulai was an air base right on the South China Sea. And everybody said, boy, there's no war going on, this would be a beautiful resort area. And there was beautiful beaches, big sands, beaches, and there was hundreds of planes taking all day long. We could hear planes taking off. And
The Marines were there?
I think the Marine, it was mostly, I think it was an Army base there, Chulai. And it was mostly, then they had an Air Force base there, right there. And the Phantoms, you always see the Phantoms taking off all day long, and helicopters landing. And so I was there for like a day.
Helicopters landing with the wounded?
Yeah, because we could see everybody was looking, everybody was shocked. You could see the Chinooks, the big carrying the regular helicopters, the smaller helicopters.
Oh, right.
They were shot down. They're bringing them back in. And everybody's mouth. I remember that everybody's looking up. They were, oh man, everybody's going like that. We got to go out there.
All the new guys,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. We said, oh no, we got to go out that place. Oh boy. And then so finally, some truck picked me up next day, and they took me to a base camp about a half hour from
Chulai.
Chulai. I think it was LZ Bayonet. I think it was called Landing Zone Bayonet. That's where my base camp was.
Okay.
And that's where they assigned me to my unit, which is H Troop, 17th Cavalry.
What was your mission there?
First they gave me machine guns. They said I was going to be a machine gunner. So right away, they told me where stole my gear and everything. It was like they called it a hooch. You know, you put all your things in, and had like a little foot locker that took care of everything. And right away I went on patrol the next day.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, you know, and I was.
Can you describe what it was to go on patrol?
Yeah, I felt, you know.
How many were with you?
My company, 17th Cavalry, I say it was like 5 or 6 APCs, and then
Armored personnel carriers?
right, and each one had like two M60 machine guns on it, and like 50 caliber on it. And
So how many men were in a personnel carrier?
I'd say about maybe 50.
Oh.
And
So that's
no,
quite-
I mean in the platoon, like I'm
Oh, in
saying.
the whole.
And at first I was nervous at first, you know. Everybody's going, just take it easy. If you get shot at, just start shooting, you know.
How were you as a shot?
You know, back then, if you're going through something, if you see jungles, you didn't see anything. So the first time somebody heard a couple shots, everybody started shooting, and all you could see was like trees going over the place and bushes everywhere, flying over the place, and nobody knows if that shot hit anybody or not.
It's like the invisible enemy.
Yeah, and like after the first week I was there, I thought that's not too bad, you know. And night you go on patrol, so you go on patrol for like 4 or 5 days. And for like the first week, you know, you heard a couple shots, and the only time I was really afraid was at nighttime. The first time the sergeant said, all right, you can go out about 100 yards, a couple other guys, and you're like an ambush thing, you're like an early warning. And I remember going out there for the first time, and my teeth were chattering, you know, and my heart was beating, my teeth were chattering, because we're out there like 100 yards from everybody else. And all I could think of was them crawling up on me and hit me, stabbing me with bayonets or something. I said, oh my God. And they said, all right, the other guy goes, all right, your turn to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake all night. And all I could think was, you could hear my heart beating from like a mile away. I was so afraid that night.
You didn't feel safe enough to sleep?
Yeah, it was just 4 guys, me and 3 other guys out there just in a hole. You know,
wow.
I said, oh man, I said, I'm not gonna make it through the night. You know, I thought I was gonna get killed. I thought I was gonna die the first time I was out there.
And did that happen for you every other time that you had to do that?
Yeah, it happened one other time, and back then I started to get used to it. You know, guys were laughing and things like that, and then I started joking around, and you know, and every day we went up. Then we go patrol 4 or 5 days. Then we go back in for like a day or 2, take showers, have a hot meal. All your weapons had to be cleaned all the time. There was always mold getting in them and dust, and you know, filthy out there. And it was routine after a while. I go on patrol 4 or 5 days, and you met all different types of guys. I met college graduates. I met guys from no teeth in their mouth from West Virginia or something, and it's all types of people you meet in the Army.
Interesting.
It was very interesting because, you know, and some people are so nice, and other guys are, you know, you meet all kinds. But once you're in the jungle patrol, everybody got along, and there's no arguing or anything. You know, sergeant said something on your patrol, everybody did it, you know. And so it's basically the same. Then finally, on my last patrol, where I got wounded, we're in Quang Ngai Province.
When was this?
This was in March of '69.
Right. Can you describe Quang Ngai Province?
First of all, we went there, and there's some, and guys was telling me there's a lot of old French rubber plantations around there. They were deserted like 50 years ago. And
Michelin tires?
yeah, that's it. And a lot of, you know, a lot of rubber, and and we could see the jungle at one side, then also you see big clearings that were rubber plantations. And then we're all spread out. The sergeant goes, everybody spread out, and so we're all going. So some guys got off the APC or walking, and other guys stayed on the APCs, you know. And all of a sudden, everybody hears shooting all around. And for the first time ever, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a soldier, GI, get shot, go down so fast, and I was like, and I wasn't sure at first, you know, because it's like happened so fast. I said, oh, the first time I saw somebody get shot, then everybody starts shooting. They're shooting everywhere. And I'd say maybe about 10 minutes, there was like shooting, like nonstop. So I was still on the APC, and I was shooting on the M60, and I remember I ran out of ammunition. Somebody else yelled, they're out of ammunition, so I went down to the APC, and I bent over and I picked up 2 cans of ammunition, and I was putting on top of the APC, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye behind the clearing, I could see a Viet Cong with a RPG, and I couldn't turn around fast enough to shoot or anything, and I don't know if I was frozen or I was like, my mouth, and I could see him. I wasn't sure if he was shooting at me or somebody else, but next thing I know, I was laying on the bottom of the APC, and I guess I was conscious because later on they told me I was probably in shock because I was wounded, and I remember the lieutenant was on the radio calling for the helicopters coming to pick me up because there was other wounded besides me. And I remember there's still a lot of shooting going on, and I can remember the lieutenant yelling at the helicopter because the helicopter said, "We can't land right now because there's too much shooting going on." Then I remember the lieutenant screaming in the radio, "Get the goddamn!" He's cussing at the, I remember yelling, "I got wounded down here. Come get him!" And I can remember the lieutenant screaming on the radio, and they're back. They wouldn't come in for a few minutes. Then they finally came in. I didn't pass out or anything, but all I could think of was, what about somebody comes in, I'm laying here, I can't get up or anything, and all of a sudden, the Viet Cong, or I'm not sure they're Viet Cong or North Vietnamese, came in and started stabbing me and stuff, and that's all I could think of. So finally the helicopter came in, and they loaded me on a helicopter, and I remember everybody screaming and yelling, and I remember the helicopter guys were shooting, they were shooting all over the place, and it was like everybody's yelling, cussing, screaming, and I remember the helicopter taking off, and I was still conscious, and then I remember landing back. I think I'm not even sure they landed. We landed. They rushed. I remember going into the doctors, and nurses coming running out and stuff, and then last thing I remember for like a week. Then I woke up in the hospital there, and I guess I had a lot of troubles because they couldn't close my wounds, and I didn't notice until later, but my right leg came right off when I got wounded that day, but my left leg was still on, but they're trying to save it. They kept going higher and higher. As it turns out, I wish they had just taken it was a little longer, because now it turns out my left leg is shorter than my right leg. Oh. So but if they didn't try to save it, it might have been a little longer.
Oh, okay.
But I can't second guess them. No, that's they do what they thought was best, so I can't second guess them now. But then I remember I finally conscious at the 5th or 6th day, and a couple of guys I was with came in and talked to me. That I was with when I got hurt and stuff. And then as the last time I ever saw anybody, then they flew me to Japan because they said they said I need more operations. Then I was in Japan for about a month.
Where?
Geez, I can't remember. I was an army base in Japan.
Yokohama?
It might have been. I can't remember anymore.
Okay.
And it was an army hospital there. And they told me I had two more operations there because I guess I was hemorrhaging. They told me, and we could stop the bleeding, and so finally they had to do a couple more operations. And I guess I was out of it most of the time. And let me see what happened there. Then finally, after about a month, they said I was strong enough to fly me back to the States. So they flew me on an Air Force plane, and it was terrible. It was like they had racks of wounded on the plane, like three high. I felt so claustrophobic. I couldn't,
Wow.
I thought I couldn't breathe. I remember I can't breathe. I started to get a hyperventilate or something because I couldn't, well, I could see the guy on top of me, the guy below me. And I remember the nurse saying, relax, and they're going to give me a shot, And a very nice nurse, somebody just hold my hand.
Oh.
First time I ever talked about it.
She held your hand for the whole flight?
Yeah, very nice lady. Okay, then I remember landing in
She distracted you from your
yeah,
claustrophobia?
very nice, yeah, because guys are yelling, pain, screaming on the plane,
Oh, awful.
It was terrible, and it was a long flight, and
Wow.
Then we finally landed in the Air Force Base in Virginia. I can't remember what it's called now. But then there's buses waiting for us at the there must have been like 10 buses there. They took us on the plane, put us on the buses, like all the buses had racks just like the plane had. And then they drove us to Walter Reed.
Okay.
And
In Maryland?
yeah, it was Silver Springs, Maryland, I think it was. And I remember back then in the 60s, that was an old, very old building, and the beds were like, there must have been hundreds of guys on the ward, and the beds were like just right so next to each other. You couldn't even move. The beds were so close to each other, and it was terrible. You know, it was miserable almost because there was absolutely no privacy. You could go like this and touch a guy in the bed next to you, and
How long were you there?
I was there almost a year, and then I remember my parents coming up, which is tough. Then I had a couple more operations there.
You were 21?
Yeah, I turned 21, yeah. And I had a couple more operations at Walter Reed. Then they started giving me physical therapy. And so I was there almost a year, then I was going to physical therapy. Then one day, after about a year, I'm laying in bed, in a different ward back then. And all of a sudden, somebody came in and said, you're getting discharged today. I said, why, how can I get discharged? Where am I going to go? You know, I have no legs. Where am I going to go? So we're getting, it's too crowded. We can't keep you here any longer. We're going to send you to a veterans hospital. They don't teach you how to use the artificial legs and the walk and everything. I said, all right. So I called my parents up and I said, they're transferring me. Just like that, 11 o'clock in the morning, transferring you. And so then they wheeled me, my whole bed down to, they were giving my discharge papers. Now, if you notice, they wheeled me in there, and the guy goes, "You can't keep in the Army anymore." Well, I says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, where am I going to go? How am I going to go home?" You know. So we're sending you to the Veterans Hospital. We're going to send you there today to the Veterans Hospital in New Jersey. So I called my parents up, and my father met us. I told them what time we come, and they told me we're catching a plane, and we're going to fly to the Air Force Base in McGuire, I guess it was. And then we're going to transfer you from there. They're going to transfer you to the Veterans House in East Orange. So back then, I don't know. So if you notice my discharge, doesn't have my purple heart on there or anything. And I said to the guy, I'm getting discharged. I said, my purple heart's not on the air. I'm supposed to get some other medal. They told me about combat badge. I never got that. They said, oh, don't worry, we'll send it to you. Right away, I knew I'd never see it, you know.
Wow.
And that's why I wrote those letters they have no information on me at all, the Army.
Combat infantry badge?
Yeah, and the Army has no information on me at all. It's like, you know.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. They wrote to 2 different places, and nobody has information on me. When I was in the Army, when I was discharged. So they transferred me to East Orange. So we landed at the Air Force Base, McGuire. And my father met me there. And so I'm laying on it, and I'm in a wheelchair, put me in a wheelchair. So, and there's nobody there from the hospital to meet me. And so the guy on the Air Force plane, he goes, he's calling, he says, I don't know who to call, you know. They're supposed to, so he called up East Orange Veterans Hospital. I had no idea I was coming or anything. They weren't expecting me. So I'm sitting there at the Air Force Base. Nobody knew I was coming. Then, so the guy at the Air Force Base, we're leaving now. We need the wheelchair.
What?
So my father goes, I can't tell you what my father said, but
Oh my God.
I thought my father was going to fist fight with him. And
Oh my God.
my father goes, what do you expect me? My father goes, what do you expect me to do? What do you want to lay on the floor? And the Air Force guy was in there. He goes, well, we're not allowed. We're not allowed to leave the wheelchairs here. We have to bring it back. And my father's, my father's cussing. He's cussing now. So It was a terrible thing, you know.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
So finally, they called over to the Army hospital at Fort Dix, and they said, we got a guy here who's supposed to be going to East Orange Veterans Hospital. He just got discharged. But nobody's here, nobody knows about it. We called the hospital, they're not expecting him, they don't know about him. So they said, bring him over here, so we'll keep him over here overnight. They said, finally somebody straightened it out next day. So somebody picked me up from East Orange and drove me to East Orange next day. So I went to East Orange Veterans Hospital.
What did your dad do?
He went home. he was like, I'll never forget, he was like a maniac that day.
Oh,
Because he was cussing, nobody knew what was going on.
did he go with you to Fort Dix?
Yes, he went over with me, stayed there for a while, then he went home. And so next day, they got straightened out. They finally got hold of somebody at East Orange. They said, you come pick me up next day. So next day I went, so they picked me up. And my father still wouldn't give me the wheelchair back. My father refused to give me the wheelchair back. It was a big thing here.
Oh, gosh.
So I went to East, we went to East Orange. Then they scheduled me for another operation. So this way to get my legs ready so I could start training how to use the artificial legs. So,
How did you like East Orange?
it was less crowded,
Right.
but there's a lot of older veterans there, you know. And I thought it was more like a nursing home almost. They weren't prepared for all this either. So finally, I was there for like another 6 months. I got my first pair of legs. And the worst part was I was feeling better, so they sent me home on the weekends. But when I went home to my parents' house, my parents lived in an old split level house with steps. I couldn't get in. I couldn't, the bathroom doors, I couldn't get in the bathroom. The doors were narrow. The wheelchair wouldn't fit in. And this is where I get a little upset about, because they didn't care. Nobody from the government worried how I was going to make out when I got home. You know, can you get in the shower? Can you get in the bathroom? You know, they made no provisions for that. So what I had to do was I hop off my wheelchair, hop up the steps, hop up the other steps to go to the bathroom, and you know, so finally my father, he just converted the garage into a room for me, and it built a bathroom downstairs. But nobody from the government asked me how I was making out at home, how I was making out, how I taking showers, how I was gonna, you know, it was like, you discharge, go away. You know, that's the only thing I'm bitter. That's the only thing I'm bitter about.
Was it a medical discharge?
Yeah, in fact it was. I think it was. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I'm very bitter about. I mean, because nowadays it's a lot different. The guys come home nowadays. They make sure they got, you know, they get their homes. They prepare their homes for them. But back then it was just, you know, you discharge and get out. You know.
It's so wrong.
Yeah, it was a different world back then. I'm glad they're doing a lot better now.
Permanently retired by reason of physical disability. And then this other VA letter is from 1982.
Oh yeah, I got that because I can't remember why I had to get it for it, but yeah, I had proved to somebody that I was disabled.
So until 1982, you didn't get your stipend for being 100% disabled?
Yes, I did get it. Yeah, I got my pension. I got my pension from the Veterans Administration, not from the Army.
When did you get that?
I started getting that right after I got discharged from the hospital. When East Orange discharged me for good, then in fact, I had to go. Somebody from the Veterans Group came up and told me about it. I didn't know about it. The government didn't tell me anything. You could do this. Some Veterans Groups came up and told me, "Did you get this? You get that?" I said, "No, nobody told me about it." And so some guy from somebody from North Jersey came in and just said, "I'll call up and get everything straightened out for you."
When was that?
In 1969, when I was still not,
Oh, okay.
when I was just getting ready to get discharged. The guy just happened to walk in visiting people. And he goes, "Did you sign all your papers up for your pension?" I said, "No." I said, "Nobody told me about it."
He was like your angel.
Thank God he was there. Also,
Looked up to you.
took another year. And then finally, I got my artificial legs. And back then, I used to wear them all the time. And then in my first job, I came home for about a year. It took me about a year to find a job. So my first job was in the post office. I got a job in the post office in Red Bank, New Jersey. Then I stayed there for about a year. Then I transferred over to Fort Monmouth. And I worked at Fort Monmouth for about 10 years.
Doing what?
You know, it was mostly, it's hard to describe what it was. It was mostly, I'll think about it before I finish. I can't describe what it was. I stayed there for about 10 years.
It wasn't a post office?
No, I transferred from the post office to Fort Monmouth. I left the post office. Then I went to Fort
see.
Monmouth. Then I bought a bar. I had a bar for about 3 years.
What was the bar?
I bought a bar in Toms River, and it was on Route 9 in Toms River. I kept that for about 3 years, but it was I enjoyed it for a while, but then there's no personal life. I was always getting home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and you know, it was nice, but I couldn't have any home life with that. So after
When did you get married?
I got married in '82, but I was seeing somebody then before I got married, and it wasn't working out because I was never home. I was at the bar all the time, and so I said, geez, so I sold the bar. Then went back to work at Fort Monmouth. Then I stayed for another year or two. Then I went to work for a private company. For the next 22 years, I went to work for a private company called Woodford Crystal. Worked for them for 22 years. And until I retired. And now I'm retired. That's it. That's it. Now I'm bored. I'm retired and I'm bored.
In the hospital in East Orange, was there a social worker or anybody who helped you or talked to you?
No.
There was just a doctor and
Yeah, just
nurse?
the doctors, and then then a physical therapist who taught me how to use my legs. And
What about occupational therapist?
occupational therapy, it was really a waste of time because he went down, everybody's making beer mugs. That's all he did, you know. It was just a waste of time. But I guess he had to do it, and but nobody prepared you for like when you left when I was going to go home. How would I function when I first got home with no legs,
yeah.
and you know how do I apply for jobs? Nobody from the government, no help at all. He just discharged me, and that was it.
So that man who helped you file your papers, did he help you straighten out your records?
Well, you know, he called somebody from Newark, the VA office in Newark, and somebody from the VA office in Newark came over.
Good.
And they took all my information and got me straightened out. And they said, well, when you're discharged, we'll start, you know. And back then, I think it was $500 a month. I got that was it. And
That was your 100% disability?
yes,
What is it now?
almost 4,000.
Nice.
So at least, you know, the politicians, you know, if you get 1% raise, I'm happy now, the way things are.
That's good.
And so it's up to me. Nobody helped me find a job. Nobody helped me.
Did you use your GI Bill?
I did. I went to Monmouth College. But they were not set up for anything handicap.
Wow.
There's no ramps, no steps. They're all steps, no ramps. I couldn't get to any classes. But if you go to Monmouth College now, there's ramps everywhere. There's elevators, you know. So
you tried to apply there?
Yeah, I did. I went over, and I went the first day.
Because that's right in your town.
I went first day classes. It's impossible. I couldn't go up the
You
step.
didn't realize?
It didn't occur to me.
Wow.
And I just went over there. I said, I can't. There's no steps. Steps everywhere. Like I say, well, you're there now, right? You see ramps everywhere, elevators.
The whole campus.
Right. It wasn't like that in 1969. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
gosh.
couldn't. Yeah. I said, this is it. So I said, hell with it. And I didn't go.
Discouraging.
Yeah.
And you had a car?
I had a car. I had the hand controls in the car. And
So when did you stop using the artificial legs?
I stopped using it about 2 years ago.
Oh,
And know why? Because nowadays I always get a two-door car, and the two-door cars are getting smaller and smaller. So they made them so small. My last car I bought like 2 years ago, it's had right. By the time I got the hand control in now, I couldn't get it with my artificial legs. I mean, you couldn't get in either. You wouldn't be able to get in either drive it. Because my wife doesn't even drive it because she says you bang your knees on it. It's so small, you know. So my next car, I'm not sure how I'm going to work it out with my next car, what I'm going to do, but. So I have to call somebody from the DA, and I know that's going to be rigmarole, you know, trying to figure out what to do.
Oh, okay. Did you ever join any veteran groups?
I first joined, I didn't join, I joined the Vietnam Veterans
Right.
local chapter in chapter 12. I just joined a couple years ago after I retired. Because I never really, once I started working, I really thought about Vietnam or, you know, till I retired and got older, I guess. You know.
Did you ever go to the wall?
And yes, in Washington, yes. I went about 25 years ago, when we first opened that.
Oh, okay. How was that?
I got goosebumps. It was very, I didn't figure how lucky I was. I wasn't on the wall, you know.
You seem like you've adjusted very well.
Yeah, I did, because I went to work, like I said, I went to work right away, you know. Like, who knows, if I could have went to Monmouth College, who knows what I would have done. I would have been a school teacher or something, yeah.
And what about the memorial in Homedale?
I've been there a couple times,
Nice.
which is very nice.
And that's accessible.
Yes, but nowadays, most places, government places, you know, you can get in, you know. But back then, in the 1960s, it was different.
Let me ask you, when you saw your newsletter, your Vietnam Veteran of America newsletter, and this project was mentioned, what was it like for you? Had you been thinking of talking about it?
No, I never did.
Is that the first time you thought about talking?
Yeah, because even I had a couple of friends who were in Vietnam, and we'd go out for lunch or something and have a couple of beers, and nobody even mentioned Vietnam, you know, for years, right? And I never even talked about it. And I guess now I'm getting older, you know.
Some parts of your story reminded me of a TV show and a movie, China Beach.
Oh, right, Mary.
And then there was a John Voight, Jane Fonda, I think, movie. I forget the name of it, but he was the same as you in a crowded hospital.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but
I think of Forrest Gump.
was it John Savage? Or
Yes.
John-
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Jane Fonda?
Deer hunter.
Oh.
That's right, a deer hunter. He lost both his legs. Yeah. Robert De Niro. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, who's in it? Yeah.
So you wanted to read something that your friends... You want to tell the story first of your friends?
When I was in Walter Reed, I had a bad habit.
Take your time. Do you need more water?
No, thanks.
We'll give you more.
Yeah, I had about 5 friends always just come see me when I was at Walter Reed Hospital. And we stayed friends over the years. And I was telling one of them about this story, and I guess he mentioned somebody else, and everybody wanted to say something. Okay, I'll read fast. They're not that long.
Okay.
The first one's from Peggy Beatty. We went to high school together.
Nice.
And she was going to the University of Maryland when I was in Walter Reed, so she was able to come up a lot.
Nice.
She goes, she wrote a day I'll never forget. Vietnam was a conflicting time for me. My parents in schooling taught me to believe in the United States. My father was a history teacher for 41 years. Relatives had served in the Army, but as a college student in the 60s, I learned to start questioning the government. As an undergraduate at the University of Maryland, we saw a lot of protests against the war. I didn't believe in not supporting the government, but I was troubled with all the deaths of our soldiers. Many of my friends had been drafted out of high school, and this was a lot different than World War II. To go away to a country that had been fighting for years and other governments, leaving when they were defeated, did not seem right to be there. I know we have the best military, but we cannot save everyone. I watched countless friends die over there, and at the end we were defeated too, which I don't agree with that. But when we heard that my friend Michael George was injured, we went immediately over to Walter Reed Hospital to see him. Michael was a big, quiet, handsome fellow. I was always following him around high school, and even switched churches to follow him to catechism classes. Of course, he didn't know that, but I questioned him. Upon entering the hospital with my best friend Linda Caligari and his neighbor, we started asking where we could find this big, handsome football player. As 2 young, naive college students, we were shocked as we walked down the rows of wounded soldiers. Some had no arms, some had Some had no arms, some had no arms and one leg. Some were bandaged all over and couldn't see their injuries. It was awful. We were so dazed that when we came upon Michael,
She felt your heart stop.
yes. Here was our friend lying in bed with both legs missing. We were speechless at first. His parents had just arrived the day before and looked devastated. We were both cheerful that Linda and I arrived. Quick, we had to get it together for Michael's sake. His eyes were so sunken and dull. But he quickly had his mom show us his purple heart. We praised him for his bravery and thanked him for serving. We stayed talking about home and high school to fill the void. I stood at the end of the bed and said, "Dear God, protect him." After we left, we didn't say much to each other in my home. We did not realize the consequences toward to see Linda in the hospital. That Dave Lowstone sent me forever. That was Peggy Dee. Next one is from my friend Steve Napatani. I met Mike in 1962 as a freshman in Long Branch High School. We met in gym class. He was a tall guy in the back row, and I was a short, fat guy in the front row. We always have been the best of friends ever since. The night before Mike went to Vietnam, we were in Strauss having beers, as normal young men would do. I noticed his clothes were just hanging on him. He had lost a lot of weight from the rigorous Army training. I had no idea this last time I would see him before his life changed forever. Mike might have written me a letter once or twice before he was wounded. One day in March, I was driving home down West 30th Avenue. I passed by George's home. I saw a few cars there more than normal in the driveway. It seemed peculiar. I went home, my mother broke the news. Later on that evening, I arrived to George's house. A few other friends and several relatives were there. His father showed me a telegram he received from the War Department indicating that my mother had already told me. The first time I saw Mike after he was wounded was when some of our high school crew got together. We drove to Wall Street Army Hospital to visit our wounded friend. We ascended back steps, which opened up to a large hospital room filled with wounded soldiers. As I walked in, I spotted Mike to my left. At that point, I turned my head. I felt weak. We sat around all day talking. I visited Mike there and at the Veterans Hospital Rehabilitation several times over the subsequent 2 years, while Mike healed. After 50 years, we still remain the best of friends. Mike's a hero. Steve.
Wow.
This was my friend Joe Gallo. It was a profound honor and appreciation that I'm writing this recollection of our events and your great sacrifice for your country. I remember driving. Joe was going to school, to college in Louisiana when I was in Fort Polk, and he came to see me one time.
Oh.
I remember driving from school in West Louisiana to see you at Fort Polk weeks before your deployment. I vividly recall your physicality at 6'1", 180 pounds, and every other step everybody was yelling Charlie. A few months later, when I made my weekly call home, I was told that terrible ambush and the wounds you received on March 9th. As soon as I got back home from summer break, Steve Knapp and I headed down to see you at Walter Reed, not knowing what to expect. Michael, you always possessed big eyes, however, you looked shocked in your eyes, probably as a full year. Steve and I would take turns wheeling you around the scene of your utter destruction to life and limb. We're present, one better than the other. A sight I'll never forget. After a while, I realized that something was wrong. It was dark outside. I knew it had to be late, but your clock read 4:10. When we checked, we found out it was 7:40. You started laughing. You turned the clock back. Thank you again for being part of it. I love you. I love you, dear friend, and my best man, Joe Gallo. This is from Linda Caligari. Linda's also went to school at the University of Maryland when I was wounded there.
Oh, okay.
She's all from Long Branch. In 1968, I was a college student at the University of Maryland, participating in usual activities, protecting the war in Vietnam. Many friends were over there fighting for their country, and we just wanted to see our friends come home safely as soon as possible. The call came from my mother one night, telling me that my high school classmate and neighbor, Mike George, had been badly injured. He was in Walter Reed Hospital. I'm sure you want to go see him. My roommate and best friend, also a good friend of Michael's, would take the trip with me to D.C. to visit him. The agony that awaited us was not expected. My thoughts of that first visit will be with me forever. Find Michael in a large room, a wounded young man. He's a big, strong football player, and we will spot him in a minute. He has a round face and smiling eyes, squinty smiling eyes. Could this be him? A skeletal face with large, lifeless eyes. Could this be possible? His parents had just arrived before us, and they were seeing their son for the first time since the bomb and take his leg from him. Be strong, be upbeat, do it for them, for Michael. We survived the first visit and grew that day. We discovered that soldiers were offended by protests. They thought that we did not support them. That was not the case. They thought we could help, we just didn't know how. Michael has remained my friend here for 40 years. I've never heard him speak bit with bitterness and continues to love his country. He has matched a straight, strong, and smiling eyes. Linda Calvary. And the last one, it's my friend Roger Wilbur. It was the last week of May '69 that I made my trip to Washington, D.C. to spend a few days with Mike at Walter Reed Army Hospital. It was the first time I traveled to Washington, so apprehension was my companion. It was a different time, no GPS, no email, no internet. After Mike was wounded, it always took a couple of days to get an update on his condition and his movement returning stateside. The day of my first visit remains fresh in my memory. It was a perfectly fresh spring day. The brick hospital was gigantic, but gave the impression of a huge unguarded prison instead of a world-renowned hospital. I don't recall signing in or getting directions to his ward. Going down a long hallway, I came to a patient H ward and entered. The ward appeared as large as a school gym and as loud, with young men yelling in anguish. It was a wrong ward. It was one of the soldiers had to have at least 3 limbs or more. The number wounded filled a huge space. In retrospect, it saw from my reaction to Michael's ward as it was for double amputees. Same size and number of patients. At the first one, you could feel a different attitude, less noisy, and if someone yelled out in pity, many others swore at him, told him to shut up. No politeness. As I sized up the ward, I realized that although I was 21, I felt older than half the ward. I was overwhelmed by the thought of the challenges that were in my future of each of these men. What was not surprising was visiting Mike for the first time was total feeling of normalcy. When he was injured and much thinner, we were all less the same. Conversation, opinions, ideas on ways to sneak in a beer or sneaking out of the hospital were the same as always. There was always one rule in life, and this was not breaking it. Among his parents and friends and himself, there was no tolerance of any self-pitying by any of the patients in the ward. If they're not able to keep those fears to themselves, they were made to know that complaining was unwelcome in no uncertain terms. There is no doubt that for Mike and his friends, this unbroken resolve is a positive step to recovery. In the 40 years since, there is no another memory that usually stands out. The efforts by Mike's parents, Walt and Dottie, As high school kids, one of our sports was to make fun of each other's parents. It was equal opportunity hazing. No one was spared. As an adult, to witness the support and encouragement and discipline they supplied to Mike was inspiring. Then there's other stories that remain to be shared here. My friend Roger Wilbur. And that's it.
I like that Roger spoke about your parents and their efforts to help you. Who really helped you adjust to get back to a normal life.
Like today, I didn't even mention my mother was coming here. My mother's still alive, she's 93. And I didn't even mention I was coming here today because she got upset about it.
She protects you. Are you the only son?
Yes, I have a sister, yeah.
Do you have any stories that Roger didn't want to share? Other stories that have to do with your parents helping you get back to a normal lifestyle? Do you want to share one though?
Well, it's just basically, I told you, my house is not set up to be anybody in a wheelchair.
And your dad did some construction?
My father's friend came over, they fixed the garage up for me, put the bathroom downstairs. And that's mostly my bitterness, that the government didn't help. Right, well, they didn't help me. Nobody came to my house to see, are you okay? How you making out? You know, what are you doing in life? You know, are you dead or alive? Nobody from the government ever called me. I'm glad things, like I mentioned before, I'm glad things are different now. You know, where guys are getting wounded to getting support, a lot more support. Back in the 60s, you're discharged, that was it. It's final, you know. You go home or go away, that's it.
Did you ever see anybody that you served with?
No, just a couple of the guys I went to school with that I kept in touch with. One guy lost his leg just like me. Another guy lost a leg. And I don't know if I should say this. They'll probably never see it. A lot of them just turned to alcoholics or drank, or one guy drank himself to death, you know. But, you know, because he had, like I say, who knows what went through his mind when he came home. Did he have support? Maybe he had no support, like I had better support with my parents and my friends. But that's my only. I don't regret going to Vietnam. If I got drafted, I'd go back again. But my only complaint is the government. I felt they abandoned after I was wounded. They abandoned me. They didn't check on me after. They wanted to see how I was doing. You know, it was just final. You know,
Right.
you discharged, go away. Like if I didn't call the government, if I needed something, they would never call. You know, if I didn't call them for something, then I would never get anything. I met a couple of nice people in the VA.
Right.
They helped me a lot. After a couple of guys who were Vietnam veterans worked for VA, and it wasn't for them, you know, getting a new pair of legs when I needed it, or getting my wheelchair broken, getting things like that, you know,
Right.
I had a hard time probably.
So, when you were younger, you liked to swim, I guess. You were a lifeguard.
Yes,
Did
I
you get
still
to
swim every day. I still swim every day.
Do you?
Yeah, I go to gym every day.
Nice.
Especially since I'm retired, it breaks the day up and gets me in shape.
That's great. And your health's okay? You weren't affected by Agent Orange or anything?
No.
That's good.
And other than that, you know, I've been lucky. I just lost my legs. My body, there's no scars on my body or anything, so I was lucky that way. And life goes on. Nothing you do about it.
With the VVA, do you go to meetings? What do you do with
Yeah,
that?
once a month they have meetings. Once a month.
Where are they?
They have in Oakhurst. They rent out the top of the floor the VFW in Oakhurst.
Oh, okay. And
And
Howard,
they get a nice turnout. There's like a couple hundred guys belong to it. They're all from like around Monmouth County.
and do you have events that you volunteer at with them?
I should do more, but they do a lot of things, but I should do more, but which I don't.
Oh,
But I
okay.
should do more.
Okay. Sounds
They're
good.
all nice, great bunch of guys, and it's, you know, all around the same age, everything, so which is very nice. I enjoy going to meetings.
That's good. Vinny, do you have any questions?
Yeah, when you first got back and you went out and you got your own, like you went out and got the post office job, did you find out that like doing stuff on your own really helped you like come back into society after you got back?
Yeah, 'cause I was getting frustrated because it was a year before I got the job, and I applied, I took a test, I applied here, I applied there, and I kept never. I said, well, you have to wait in line, and so finally after a year, they finally hired me. Then I really enjoyed it because I was working in the small post office, which I really enjoyed. I was seeing people, you know, and I figured I could get the promotions, you know. If I stayed in a small post office, I could one day be assistant postmaster or postmaster after a few years, you know. But then they transferred me to a sectional center, which is open like 24 hours a day, and I hated it. And it was just like it's like a big huge warehouse with millions of trucks coming every day with mail, and I said, nah, I figured that wasn't for me. So I applied to Fort Monmouth. And they hired me over there, and I stayed there I worked here for 10 or 11 years. Like I said before, I bought a bar, then I sold my bar, then went back to Fort Monmouth, then I worked for Christopher for 22 years after that. Like I say, it's a good thing I worked because if I sat home for 45 years, you know, who knows what it could be like, you know. Would have been good.
When was the first time the government contacted you without you contacting them?
Never.
Never, it's always been you.
Oh, if I didn't contact government,
Where was the 27th Surgical Hospital where you were initially treated?
was that going to Vietnam maybe?
Okay. I'm reading this report that you brought. It's
Okay.
very informative.
Yes, like I say, it's a good thing I kept that because I can't, the Army can't find any records of me at all.
Do you need to have your congressman help you with that?
In fact, I called there and they told me who to call. They told me who to write to, who to call. I wrote there and they wrote me back. In fact, I have letters there that they can't find any of my records at all. They sent me to 2 different places. They sent me a place in St. Louis,
Okay.
which keeps all records, and they sent me some other Army, and I neither place any records of me at all.
Okay.
So it's
I
good that
might-
I kept all these things. And
Yeah. Do you have the New Jersey Vietnam Service Medal?
no, I don't.
Okay. I have the application for you for
Okay.
that. Go ahead.
When I was in Walter Reed Army Hospital, my father's friend from Long Branch, who he grew up with in Long Branch, after World War II, I guess he went out to Las Vegas, and I guess he had part of Riviera Hotel back in the '60s, and he was his name was Tony Zoppi. Originally from Long Branch, and so my father, after I was wounded, my father used to talk once every night. He was checking on me with my father, and I guess Tony Zoppi was very friendly with Bob Hope, and
Wow.
Bob Hope called me at the hospital one night in Walter Reed.
Oh.
And I remember a nurse coming to my bed and saying, "You have a call from Bob Hope." And I'm going, "Yeah, I thought it was my friend. Somebody flew around, my friends fooling around or something, calling up." And he finally got the phone, but it was Bob Hope. And ever since then, he's
What did he
called-
say?
How you doing and how you feeling? Don't worry about anything. And he wanted me. And then he started calling me like once a month, send me cards, and this kept on to almost to the early '90s. He kept calling me, and one time it took me. When I was feeling better, I got out of the hospital. He invited me up to Waldorf Astoria one night, and yeah, he's having a little show up there. He introduced me to a couple of people, and he goes, "I want you to listen to these people. They know what they're doing, you know." So I remember he introduced me to Tom Carvel, who used to own Carvel franchises, and I guess Tom Carvel's real name was Carvelis, and I guess he was Greek, and he found out that my mother was Greek. So once he found out my mother was Greek, he wanted to build me a franchise, and anywhere you want, I'll check it out. I'll build your franchise anywhere you want. No franchise fee, nothing. So Bob Hope's going, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. But I was only like 21 years old back then, and all I could think was, I don't want to sell ice cream, you know. And
Oh, you turned it down?
So I never followed it through. And then Bob Hope and a couple other people, but I never followed it through because, when you're young, you don't think. You know.
Who went to the Waldorf with you? Your parents?
My parents, yeah.
Nice.
And so after that, Bob Hope, he always he called me a couple other. He's called me like once a month for years. Always sent me a card. Wherever he was around the world, he sent me a postcard or something, and he never forgot. It was
And you just met him that one time?
No, in fact, then one time after I bought my one time he came when the art center first opened up in Holmdel. He was there. And he invited me, and he said, bring a couple of friends, and so I invited a bunch of people, and after the show, we all went backstage. He met all my friends, and it was very nice.
So he's just as nice in person as he
really
seems?
friendly guy, yeah.
What did he say to you about his USO shows and all that he saw in Korea and Vietnam?
He said he loved doing that. He said he couldn't wait to do it. And
Yeah.
then one time when then years later again, he went to Ocean Grove and he invited us to. He's at that. It was a camp, that big building there in Ocean
Right.
Grove. I can't remember what the name's called. He invited us there. He had a show. I'm going back 25 years now. He's there. He had a show there. Then we went there. He invited bring in whoever he wanted. He goes and.
He was a personal friend of yours.
Really nice. Call on the phone. My parents speak to him all the time. He didn't talk to him. He knew the first names. It's funny how he remembered their names.
Could you ever pick up the phone and call him?
A couple times, and then when I was working for Woodford Crystal, they had a factory in Ireland where they used to make all the glass, and I spoke to the president of the company, and I told him what I wanted to do, and they designed a piece for Bob Hope. They said, "To Bob Hope, thanks for the memories of my George."
Right. That was his famous song.
They made a big paperweight for him, and so I gave it to him. It was very nice. They say he always kept on his desk, you know, it's nice.
And how long ago did he pass away?
Maybe 10, 15 years ago, maybe, yeah. Because towards the end, he stopped calling, and then Tony Zoppi called me, he's not doing too well, and
He lived a good long life.
yeah, he did, yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's an incredible story. So, you had mentioned that you saw the RPG out of the corner of your eye.
I thought I did. I'm pretty sure it was aiming at me, but I just couldn't move fast enough, and I don't know if I froze or I just, you know.
So is that what got you?
Yes, RPG ran. It went right through one side of the armored personnel carrier and exploded and hit me.
Oh, you are lucky to be alive.
I'm lucky to be alive. And no scratches on my body, just got my legs.
Oh, you said that, right?
Yeah, and nothing else. No.
So that is incredible.
Yeah.
While you were over there, you did write back and forth to people back here?
Yes.
And did your parents ever send you anything over there?
Yeah, they send cookies or things like that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's the letters. I know they're up in my parents' attic somewhere. I gotta find them. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see them, or copies of them.
Yeah, I know they're there. It's a big pile of letters.
Did you know that this, you probably know this, but the report says, his prognosis for further military service is poor, prognosis for life is good.
Yeah. But back
That's
then, I just didn't understand.
This was a female major physician who wrote this,
Yes. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, gee, I remember her. Yeah.
Major Mary McVeigh.
That's it. All right. Okay. I remember her. Yeah.
To what do you attribute your good nature that you've been able to enjoy throughout the rest of your life? Your good attitude.
Basically, I'm just lucky that
You have a lot
my
of
friends
support?
and family. When I first came home, yeah, that was it. Yeah. Then once I started working, I never even thought about being out for 25, 30 years. You know, I never joined any veterans clubs. I never joined any. You know, I was never into that. But now, you know, I'm getting older, and
Uh-huh. Where was this picture taken?
that's basic. That's probably just basic training. And like I say, I never got any of my pictures back when I was being armed. And about a year later, this is nothing that really aggravated me. I'm sure nobody meant to do it on purpose, but about a year later, my mother gets a package in the mail. It's my combat boots. It's from my spare pair of combat boots from the base camp. So I'm sure nobody knew I lost my legs. It was probably somebody who wasn't even there when I was there.
Oh,
My mother,
really?
I remember that really didn't go well. And that was
What
tough.
did you do, throw them right in the garbage?
Yeah.
Where were you when you got your Purple Heart? In Walter Reed?
No, I remember. Yes, I went. Yes, it was Walter Reed. I remember an officer coming around and giving it to me. But I'm set. They never put in they never put in my discharge, or you know, they rushed me out of there so fast that day. I got discharged.
Well, we'll do the most we can to help rectify that. I'm surprised the VVA hasn't helped you with that.
Well, they told me to come pick the call, and it, like I said, I wrote letters, and I got letters back. No one can we can't find anything. You know.
The VVA is very powerful as far as the money they raised.
Yeah,
for
they're
the
very good.
wall
Yeah,
and the memorial.
Yeah. It's a good organization.
Michael, I just want to say in closing that Vinny and I are honored and humbled that you're here today to speak to us of your sacrifice and contributions that you made in service to your country. And thank you. God bless you. Welcome home, Michael.
Oh, thank you.
Nice job.
Oh, thanks.